So as promised, here it is, a full video of my entire Breaking Benjamin collection. I did a little video, I think it was some months back, and it went over just the kind of like part of my collection that I had kind of on me at the time. But obviously it didn't like reflect my entire collection. So as you can see in front of you right now, I've already laid out the inserts from the singles of like, you know, the first like 3 albums. I've actually got like the singles of the first 4, but just in front of you are the inserts for the first 3. So for Saturate, We Are Not Alone and Phobia. But I do have the inserts for, let me see, I think for the 4th album that they did, Dear Agony. I do have the inserts for that as well. So yeah, without further ado, let's make a start and go over everything that I accumulated back in the day when I was a massive Breaking Benjamin fan. Well, I still am a massive Breaking Benjamin fan, but after the 4th album, after the hiatus, that's kind of like when I stopped going for the whole like major like collecting sort of thing, like their memorabilia, even when they came back and stuff. You know, I think the hiatus was kind of like a turning point for me in a certain way. But obviously I remained a massive Breaking Benjamin fan. I'm a lifelong Breaking Benjamin fan, and as you're going to see today, my collection absolutely reflects that. So what this basically is, it's sort of like a Breaking Benjamin fan's dream collection, and just in terms of like the golden age of Breaking Benjamin, like the old days and stuff, you know. So again, yeah, enough talking, let's make a start. I've actually got something really special to show, and I'm gonna save that until the end. It's the prize piece of my collection, but I'm gonna it's actually in a previous video that I did, but I'm going to go over it again at the end of this video and stuff, because I think it kind of like tops things up nicely. So yeah, just to go over again what was featured in the last video, we may as well go over it again, because now that we've got the singles to go with them to accompany them. So let's start at the beginning. We'll start way back in the early 2000s with Saturate. So let's have a look at that album. So we've got the front insert. If you hear some bark in the background, that's just my little dog, Anakin. Right. So we've got the first album, Saturate. Like I said, already covered these in the last video, the core albums and stuff, and the discs for the singles are in these. It's sort of like these nice sort of like double deluxe dual cases that I bought especially for these albums, because the amount of disc inserts that are in these, it perfectly accommodated with the amount of discs that are going to be in it. So it perfectly accommodates for one album disc and the subsequent singles, which is fantastic. You know, there were 3 singles for each of the old school Breaking Benjamin albums. So let's have a look. So Saturate, album disc right there. Obviously main insert right here, main booklet. Can be a bit tricky to open these sometimes. Right, first single, Polyamorous. Skin, and then at the back, Medicate, my favourite, and which also was probably the rarest one, well, probably the rarest single out of my collection and the hardest one to find. This was definitely the hardest single for me to track down. To be honest, everything from the really early days of Breaking Benjamin in terms of like their singles and stuff and EPs are incredibly difficult to find, except for Polyamorous, which is quite bizarre. You'd think that as that was the very first single they ever made, that would be therefore the hardest one to find. But when I was collecting these, Polyamorous was it was a single that I frequently saw pop up on eBay. So that was actually quite easy for me to acquire, and it wasn't that expensive either. Even back in the day, it was quite reasonably priced. So now we've gone over that, we may as well go over the inserts for the discs that are featured in this. So that's Saturate down. Let's have a look at the inserts. So we've got the main insert for Polyamorous featuring the original lineup, or one of the original lineups, because as most Breaking Benjamin fans know, there have been a few different versions. If you go way back to before they were signed, there was like 2 different versions of Breaking Benjamin back then, but this was the original signed lineup. So there we have Marcus James Kaplaski, Benjamin Burnley, Alan Fink, and Jeremy Hummel. So it's a simple picture of them both, nothing on the back. Some of these inserts, these main picture inserts for the singles, do actually have a little something on the back. Some of them don't, some of them do. Don't particularly know why some of them do. Just one of those things, really. Let's have a look at the back. The back insert for it, or the backdrop, or whatever and stuff. So just the track listing, just basic black background. Hold on, see if I can get that to focus. There we go. Yeah, basic black background. You got a couple of call out hooks on them. So what you basically get with what the purpose of call out hooks is they're just snippets of the song, and they don't really have like a real function for like a normal consumer and stuff. It'd be mainly like for radio or like advertising, or marketing, that sort of thing, a call out hook. So that's Polyamorous down. We'll leave my favourite one till last. Second, we've got Skin. Again, these sort of like, what I like about these picture inserts is that they're very typical of that era in rock and in the industry and stuff, and that's that when you would get these photo shoots done for their albums and for their singles and stuff, they would have typical things, typical looks about them and stuff, as you can see here. They're not wearing anything special, or wearing a simple black t-shirt, all pulling the same sort of like expression, sort of semi-serious expression, intense sort of expression. You can properly see it on Mark just there, and on Aaron as well. So that's just the main front insert for Skin. Anything on the back? No, nothing on the back of that. Let's take a look at the back of it, see what we got there. Just trying to get the angle right, because we keep getting a bit of light sort of like bouncing off of the back of it. Let's focus that in a bit if we can. So it's the main title, Skin, their emblem right there, the old school Breaking Benjamin bees. That was before they kind of switched to like the more Celtic looking knot. Just got like a few like the name drops, like the producer, mixers, writers, etc. And then my favourite one, and like I said, it's also the rarest one, at least of these 3. I don't know how rare it is in terms of like in its place of all Breaking Benjamin merchandise and rarities, but I believe it's pretty rare because of how difficult it was for me to track down, how many of them I saw pop up on online marketplaces, and cross that with the price that I paid for it. So just again, simple. What I like about this insert is that the graphics they've gone for it are very similar to the actual album cover. So this basically reflects like the main graphics and animation, etc., that they went for with the main Saturate album cover. just simply, you know, the only real difference is that you just got Medicate right there, and it just looks a tiny bit different. Anything on the back of that? No. So nothing on the back of the front insert for that. Take a look on the back. Get that focused in. Okay. The only thing that ever really bothered me about this, the back of it, is that I don't know whose idea it was to have a picture of the band and then to slap the Breaking Benjamin emblem on top of them. As you can see, it looks kind of goofy, you know, because it looks as if it's going over their faces. You know, it means that you can't see their faces properly, and it just looks like it was a bit of a silly accident. You know, if I was designing this back in the day, I wouldn't have put the emblem right over their faces. I would have put it small in the corner here or something like that. Don't know why they did it all over their faces, etc. But anyway, just another picture of the band then, and then just a couple of producer name drops, etc. Yeah, producer, mixer, who's written by, etc, 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 and that's about it. So that's Medicate done. The last single of that particular album. I'm just going to have a look and see if I've got anything else that kind of ties into that particular era of Breaking Benjamin, anything else that came out round about then. I think I do have something else. Yeah. So this actually is Saturate. It's what's commonly referred to as an advanced album or album advance. What this is that this is basically an album that wouldn't be sent out commercially. You wouldn't be able to buy this in store. You probably typically find this, you know, with like record companies or something like that, or you know, or be sent to the radio stations. And this would be the album that they would play. So they play the advanced one, hence why it's so basic and it has basically nothing on it. Let's take a quick look at the disc. Just basic jet black. Tracks right there, and that's about it. It's very, very, very basic, but that's because I don't believe the advanced sort of albums were really supposed to be meant to be purchased by the general public. They were basically meant just for marketing purposes. And I think that's all I've got from the Saturate sort of era. So moving on to We Are Not Alone. Again, showed these albums in my last video, but I'm going to go over them again. Main album insert right there. Yeah, We Are Not Alone disc. Crack that open. So there we have. Don't know what I can get on it. So that's the main disc for So Cold on the left, right there. On the right, Sooner or Later. And then on the back, their third single for the album, Rain. So now that we've covered that, we'll now go on to the singles for that album. Let's start with So Cold, right over here. So pretty basic, kind of reflects like the main motif of like what they went for the look of the album cover. Yep, you see, here we go, we have a little something on the back here. So what we have on the back for here are the actual lyrics to the song, or at least snippets of the lyrics to the song So Cold. And then on the back, picture of the band. This picture was actually used quite heavily in the marketing for this particular album. You can kind of see this pop up in a variety of different places, press kits, etc. I think I actually used to own a press kit back in the day. To be fair, the only reason why I actually owned it was because I was kind of convinced at the time that they were rare, but to be honest, they're really not. Press kits aren't rare. What press kits basically are is just paperwork that maybe could be something from an interview with the press, hence the term, you know, but they're not really that special. They're not really rare or anything. I think I've still got them around somewhere. But anyway, just got the radio edit and a couple of the call out hooks. So there's your basic standard single sort of like information on there that you get coming with singles. Moving on to Sooner or Later. I actually mentioned in the last video that I did that this was actually one of the more difficult ones for me to track down. Well, at least for this album single set, it was probably, I think it may have been the most difficult one for me to track down out of the three. But to be honest, I think that was mainly just bad luck, because after I purchased this particular single, a whole bunch of them started to pop up on eBay and other online marketplaces. So, but it just my particular luck in that particular time, this was the more difficult single for me to track down. Anyway, I like that with this single, they actually did a screenshot of the band in concert, which was a kind of a nice change, because this is actually, I believe, the only insert of a single that features the band in concert. All of the other ones are basically the band. It's just the standard stuff, just posing, photo shoots, etc. So it's actually nice to for a change to have, you know, a sort of in-action shot. Anything on the back? See, nothing on the back of this one. So let's have a look at the back insert. Again, very nice. Another shot of the band in concert. And as we have here, radio edit and a call out hook. What we've got here. I actually like that it's got a few different pieces of information that you don't normally get on the back of inserts. You see you've got some information here talking about Halo 2, because obviously Breaking Benjamin did one of the main fan themes for Halo 2, Blow Me Away, the fan favourite, as everyone refers to it. That's Sooner or Later. And then last but not least, we have Rain, 2005. I think they call it 2005 because there were two different versions of Rain. So you've got an acoustic version of Rain, and then you've got the band version, like the rock version of Rain. I honestly cannot remember if this is the acoustic one. Let's have a look and see if it says anything. I cannot remember actually. See if there's anything on the back. Yep, there actually is. See, this is different. We've actually got a quote here from someone, instead of it being, you know, lyrics from the track or just the normal producer and writer mentions. You've actually got a quote here from someone, so that's actually pretty cool. And he even says who they're on tour with. That's actually pretty cool, guys. And then to have a look on the back, let's get that in focus. Yeah, so we've got the main track here, and then a call out hook, etc. You see, written by Billy Corgan. Billy Corgan as in Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins, because he was noted as being one of the main writing forces for this album. He was the main person that Benjamin Burney collaborated with on this album, was Billy Corgan of the Smashing Pumpkins. So that was pretty cool to get like somebody else's input and inspiration on this album and stuff, you know, for Ben to be able to kind of collaborate with somebody who was like probably more seasoned than he was, a more seasoned musician. Okay, so now we're on to Phobia. So, I do have I've actually got 3 extra things for this, just so I don't forget. Looks like this video is going to be pretty long actually, so I think, yeah, taking a look at that, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to show these last couple of things. I'm going to stop it here and I'm going to do a part 2 just so it's not too long. Okay, let's get this done pretty quick. So we have an advance of We Are Not Alone, same deal as the advance for Saturate, except there's actually a little bit of colouring on this disc, which is pretty cool. And here you've got the credits: Ben Burnley, Aaron Fink, Marcus James, Jeremy Hummel. In the back, so trying to avoid reflections and stuff. There we are, the back. The other thing we've got here is the live EP. This has actually never been opened. As you can see, it's still sealed, never been opened, and I never intend on opening it. I actually had 2 of these, and I sold one. Obviously kept this one. Still sealed. I think you might actually be able to still find a few of these sealed ones online actually somewhere. But yeah, live EP. See what we've got for this one. Sorry, the lighting's gone a little bit bad, hasn't it? So you've got a live version of Medicate, a live version of Water, live version of Next to Nothing, and a live version of Sugarcoat. And then last but not least, to tie in with this, just before I stop it here and go for part 2, we have a Japanese version, Japanese release of We Are Not Alone. A few people have these. They're not overly difficult to find. They can be a little bit expensive though, even if you find them. They they tend to retail on the second-hand market of about anywhere from 40 to 50 bucks. That's what they tend to retail for. A couple of main differences between this and the main commercial release of this. Obviously, it's all red. There was actually an extra as a track on this that wasn't on the main release of We Are Not Alone, and that is actually 2, sorry. Ordinary Man, which is actually a very decent song, and Ladybug. Other one is that not only is the main insert all completely red, the disc is red as well, which I actually really like. I actually prefer this to the main release one. I actually wish that the main release of We Are Not Alone had a red disc like this, because I think it's like a blood red. It actually looks really, really cool. And there we go. Okay, so I'm going to wrap this up here. I'm going to split this now into 2 halves. So we'll have Phobia and Dear Agony and whatever else on the second part. So I will see you then.